Welcome to Curiosity, the podcast where science meets wonder. Join us as we explore the fascinating, the innovative, and the unexpected, from the secrets of the cosmos to the marvels of everyday life. Each episode takes you on a journey to uncover the knowledge and stories that fuel our endless quest for understanding. Let your curiosity guide you.
Okay, so picture this. You're standing on any city street corner, right? It's getting dark.
Right.
What do you actually see? Tell me honestly.
Well, for most of us, we're just going to see the usual stuff. You know, the concrete, the glass,
The traffic.
the traffic. And everyone just rushing home, probably scrolling on their phones.
Exactly. We see the city as a purely human world, a monument to us.
And that's it.
And that, right there, is probably the biggest cognitive blind spot we have about the places we live. Because while we're seeing our civilization, there's a completely different one unfolding all around us.
A whole other civilization.
A complex, highly intelligent society of animals. They're either operating right under our noses, totally ignored, or they're waiting for us to go to sleep.
Absolutely. I mean, you've got raccoons emerging from storm drains like they own the place.
Like seasoned burglars, yeah.
And crows gathering on power lines, just thousands of them having some kind of meeting we can't understand.
And pigeons. Pigeons that are navigating the public transit system better than most tourists. The thing is, they aren't just surviving in our cities. The sources we looked at are pretty clear on this. They're actively thriving because of them. Our infrastructure is their resource.
And that's what we really want to get into today, to look past the pavement and the noise and really dig into the secret lives of these urban animals. We need to understand how they are adapting and in some cases evolving at this incredible speed.
Okay, so let's unpack that central idea because it really changes everything. The city isn't the death of nature.
Not at all. It's more like an accelerated evolutionary laboratory.
A pressure cooker of adaptation. I love that phrase.
Yeah.
We were talking about animals becoming demonstrably smarter and bolder.
And even physically different.
Right, at rates that would normally take thousands, maybe millions of years in the wild. We're literally watching one of the great biological stories of our time unfold right outside our doors.
And the reason it's happening so fast is the sheer intensity of the selective pressure. I mean, think about it. The challenges are constant and they're brand new. Traffic, weird high-calorie food, human schedules, bizarre architecture. All of this is forcing genetic and behavioral shifts so much faster than a stable forest ever could. The city, it just instantly rewards innovation.
And it punishes anyone who can't keep up.
Exactly. Rigidity gets you nowhere.
That makes perfect sense. Survival is all about flexibility. So if this adaptation is happening so fast, where do we see it most clearly?
Well, I think we have to start with the animal that has turned urban living into an art form.
The master criminal of the urban jungle.
The raccoon.
I mean, if you had to design an animal from scratch to exploit human civilization, you would basically end up with a raccoon.
You really would. You've got these incredibly dexterous paws.
They're like little hands.
Almost. With this near-human sensitivity. And then you add in this insatiable curiosity and, crucially, a diet that lets them eat anything. Absolutely anything we throw away.
But the real key for this discussion is their intelligence. The research consistently puts their problem-solving skills up there with some primates.
And that's the baseline. What the new sources reveal is that urban raccoons aren't just coasting on their natural intelligence. They are actively developing entirely new skills specifically for our world.
That's the critical distinction, isn't it? It's not just that they're smart, it's that they're getting smarter
Yeah.
and they're learning.
Exactly. We're seeing in cities across North America that urban raccoons have measurably different behaviors than their rural cousins.
Even their brains look a little different, right?
Subtle differences, yes. And a huge one is boldness. They are profoundly bolder. A raccoon in the forest hears you, it runs. A city raccoon, it might just walk towards you to see if you've got any food.
So we're actually seeing selection for a specific personality trait.
A powerful and rapid selection. They're learning to defeat our systems. Opening door handles, unscrewing lids on jars, and of course, the most famous example.
The garbage bins.
The high-tech, supposedly raccoon-proof garbage bin.
You really can't talk about this without getting into the legendary Toronto green bin arms race. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Toronto is basically the raccoon capital of the world. It is. And the city, back in the late 2010s, they essentially declared war on them.
It was an incredible municipal effort. The city council, the sanitation department, they spent a fortune. Taxpayer money, time, engineering, all to develop a new generation of green bins.
Bins designed specifically by engineers to be raccoon-proof.
Impervious. They had these complex locking mechanisms, sometimes 2 or 3 steps. You had to pull a latch and twist a handle at the same time.
Things that should have required fine motor skills way beyond what a raccoon has.
By all logic, yes.
And what happened?
They were defeated. And not in weeks or months. In many places, it was literally within hours of being deployed.
Hours? That's just...
Yeah.
It's almost absurd. That arms race, human engineering versus animal ingenuity, is the perfect little story of this whole phenomenon.
It is. But the story gets even better when you look at how they did it. Because it wasn't just one genius raccoon.
This is where the social learning comes in.
Right. Viral videos started popping up everywhere, showing raccoons actually demonstrating the technique to each other.
So they were teaching. It was instructional.
You could see it. An experienced raccoon would perform the multi-step process, and others, younger ones maybe, would watch intently and then try it themselves.
So this is concrete evidence of social learning, of cultural transmission.
Absolutely. It's not individual trial and error. This is a shared culture. They're essentially passing down an instruction manual for how to defeat our technology.
They're updating their playbook every time we try to outsmart them.
And that just turbocharges the whole process for the entire population. It's not just one smart individual thriving. The whole community levels up.
And it's not just about physical puzzles. Their intelligence goes deeper. Tell us about that discovery from Chicago. That one blew my mind because it shows they understand our systems.
So scientists in Chicago were using GPS trackers on urban raccoons. And what they found was that these animals have developed a detailed mental map of garbage day.
What does that mean exactly?
It means they didn't just wander around hoping to find trash. They knew the schedule. Our schedule. They knew that this neighborhood put its trash out on Monday night. And that neighborhood over there, it was Thursday. And they would plan their routes to show up in the right place on the right night for the best possible score.
That implies a sense of time, of memory, of planning, things we just did not think raccoons were capable of.
It's strategic, it's calculated, and it's tied directly to the rhythm of our lives.
Which brings us back to that idea of personality. The research says city living is selecting for what they call bold phenotypes. Can you unpack that a bit more? Are they just raccoon extroverts?
It's a measurable trait, yeah. In biology, a bold phenotype means an individual is more exploratory, more aggressive, and much more willing to take risks.
Especially around something new or potentially dangerous like a human.
Exactly. In a forest, being cautious, a shy phenotype, that probably keeps you alive longer. You avoid predators, you conserve energy.
But the city completely flips that script.
It reverses the selective pressure precisely. In the city, the risk taker, the entrepreneur, gets the reward. And it's a huge reward. High-calorie human food. That's a massive energy bonus.
Which translates into better health, more offspring.
And faster learning. The metabolic advantages are enormous compared to the slow grind of foraging in the wild. So in just a few generations, the environment is powerfully favoring the individuals who are willing to experiment and take those calculated risks.
So if we put the whole raccoon story together, what's the big takeaway?
It's that these challenging urban environments aren't just filtering for the smartest animals that already exist. They are actively creating smarter animals. They're accelerating cognitive evolution by intensely rewarding flexibility. Intelligence isn't some fixed thing. It's a trait that's rapidly evolving to match the complex world we've built.
Okay, so if the raccoons are the street smart hustlers, the criminal element.
The lovable rogues.
The lovable rogues, right. Then the crows are the city's intellectuals. They're the strategists.
Yeah.
And the sources are pretty clear that their cognitive abilities can rival great apes.
And even young human children in some tests. Their intelligence is just astonishing, and the city has really pushed it into overdrive.
One of the most studied and maybe slightly terrifying aspects of this is their memory.
It's highly specific. They don't just recognize that we're humans, they recognize individual human faces.
And they can remember a specific face for years.
For years, and it goes beyond just memory. They hold grudges.
This is what's so fascinating. It becomes social.
Yeah.
It becomes cultural. They don't just remember someone who bothered them, they gossip about it.
They do. They communicate the threat posed by that specific person to other crows that have never even met the person.
How does it even work?
Through what researchers call social memory networks. It's like an oral history. If a crow has a bad experience with a person at a certain place, it uses alarm calls and specific aggressive behaviors whenever it sees that person again. Other crows see this, they hear it, and they learn the association.
Yeah.
That face equals danger.
So a young crow who wasn't even there for the original incident will still react with hostility to that person years later.
Exactly. They are maintaining a citywide database of human threat profiles. It's incredible.
It really shifts how you think about them. It means they have this deep understanding of systems, not just simple tool use.
Oh, their tool use is anything but simple. They modify tools. They'll bend a piece of wire into a hook to get food out of a tube. But you're right, the most profound adaptation is their understanding of our infrastructure, our timing.
We have to talk about the Japanese crows and the traffic lights. It's a classic example, but the details are what make it so brilliant.
It's not just about dropping a nut on the road and hoping a car hits it. That's too random, too risky.
So what do?
They'll take a hard nut, like a walnut, and they'll drop it in the crosswalk, but only when the light is red for traffic.
Okay, so they wait for the cars to stop.
Then when the light turns green, they wait for the cars to drive over the nut and crack it open.
And here's the kicker, the third step.
The crucial step. They wait for the light to turn red again, for the traffic to be safely stopped, and then they walk back into the crosswalk to get the kernel.
That shows such a deep analytical understanding. They don't just see a red light. They understand what it means within a complex system of rules and patterns.
They've mapped our traffic laws onto their own foraging strategy.
So how does this kind of complex knowledge spread? And the answer to that is the Seattle mask experiment.
That really became the textbook example of cultural transmission in animals.
So what did they do?
Researchers, as part of a study, would trap some crows. And while they did it, they wore these very distinctive, kind of creepy masks.
Which obviously stressed the birds out.
A lot.
Yeah.
Then, years later, the researchers came back to the same area wearing the same masks. And what they found was that crows who weren't even born when the trapping happened, future generations, were immediately dive bombing and scolding them.
The grudge became cultural knowledge.
It became institutionalized. It proves that crows have a form of oral history. They pass down vital, life-saving information about specific threats across generations.
And the city itself helps amplify this, the sheer density of the population.
Right. It forces them together, creating what the research calls information hubs. You can't get that in a dispersed rural population.
They're like crow universities.
That's a great way to put it. They gather in these massive communal roosts, sometimes tens of thousands of birds. And in these roosts, the veterans are teaching the young ones about dangers, good nesting spots, new food sources. It's an incredibly efficient system for knowledge transfer.
And we're even seeing local cultures develop. Crows in one neighborhood might have a totally different technique for getting food out of a specific type of trash can than crows just a few miles away.
They're learned local traditions. It's true, evolving crow culture, adapting to micro challenges in the environment.
It's just wild to think that as we're walking around, we're being watched, studied, and cataloged by this intelligence network operating right over our heads.
Researchers who work with them say they get an eerie feeling of being tracked. The crows learn their schedules, they know who's a threat, who's harmless, and who's likely to drop a French fry.
They've adapted to us way faster than we've adapted to them. Okay, so we've looked at the social learners, the intellectuals. Now let's shift to movement. How two very different animals navigate this concrete maze we've built.
And they have two completely different strategies. One masters our systems in plain sight, and the other achieves near total invisibility.
Let's start with the one in plain sight, the pigeon. Probably the most unfairly dismissed animal in the entire city.
Oh, absolutely. The classic rat with wings insult. It's a spectacular failure on our part to appreciate what a remarkable creature it is.
We really need to correct that stereotype. These are incredible navigators, but their intelligence goes way beyond that. They can be taught to distinguish between Picasso and Monet paintings.
Which is high-level pattern recognition. They can learn abstract concepts. They can even recognize patterns in English spelling. They know the difference between a real word and a jumble of letters.
And they have what's called episodic memory.
Which is huge. It means they don't just remember what happened, but when and where it happened. That combination of space, time, and event, that's a cognitive ability we once thought was pretty much unique to humans and apes.
But in the city, they've taken all that raw intelligence and become masters of our infrastructure. So we have to talk about the subway riding pigeons.
This is one of those observations that just turns your whole idea of animal behavior on its head. It's been seen multiple times, most famously on the London Tube.
You have pigeons that will literally get on a subway car at one station.
And then get off efficiently at another station several stops down the line. They appear to be using the train as part of their navigation strategy.
How do they know where to get off? It can't just be luck.
It's almost certainly based on visual cues. They're mapping our environment. They recognize the specific look of the station platforms, the signs, the lighting. They're integrating our transit system into their own ancient biological GPS.
They're also tapping into our daily rhythms. They know exactly when lunch hour is. They know which people are likely to share food. They even recognize logos from fast food chains.
They're not just scavenging, they're strategically cueing.
And all this urban pressure is actually changing them physically, genetically.
It is. Urban and rural pigeon populations are actually diverging. They're becoming two separate groups specialized for their own environment.
So what's actually changing in their bodies?
Well, a few things. City pigeons are evolving more robust immune systems to deal with all the weird urban pathogens and pollution.
Makes sense.
Their digestive systems are adapting to handle our processed food waste, all the fat and sugar, and even their feet are changing. They're evolving thicker, more durable foot structures for perching on concrete and metal instead of tree branches.
This is measurable evolution happening in just a handful of decades.
It's happening in plain sight. And the biggest navigational leap, the most recent discovery, is that they're using our geography as their map.
We think of them using the sun or magnetic fields, but
They still do, but they've added our infrastructure to the map. They'll follow highways and railway lines as visual landmarks, just like their ancestors would have followed a river. They're literally integrating our roads and rails into their mental atlas of the world.
so that pigeon you see flying parallel to the expressway isn't lost. It might be commuting.
It might be using your commute route as its own. They've colonized our map.
Okay, now let's contrast that very visible strategy of the pigeon with the coyote, the master of urban invisibility.
It's an incredible success story. Coyotes were once mainly confined to the western prairies, but they've expanded their range across the entire continent. And now they are thriving in mega cities. Chicago, for example, is estimated to have several thousand coyotes living within the city limits.
That's amazing. And they are probably the most sophisticated large predator adaptation we've seen in any city, anywhere. Their entire success is built on one thing.
Avoiding us. Achieving near-perfect precision in avoiding human detection.
And the Chicago Coyote Project has really confirmed this, right?
Oh, yeah. Through years of camera trap studies, they've documented thousands of successful movements through dense neighborhoods, across major roads, through busy parks, and they remain almost completely unseen by people.
They move like ghosts.
Like ghosts in the machine. It's the perfect description. And to do that, they had to make a massive behavioral shift from their wild cousins.
So in the wild, they hunt in packs.
Usually for larger prey like deer. But in the city, that's too risky. A pack is too visible. So urban coyotes have become much more solitary.
And they've shifted their prey.
They've specialized. They target the small, abundant urban animals. Rats, squirrels, rabbits, and yes, sometimes cats and small dogs. They've traded the power of the pack for the safety of stealth.
And they've also become experts in urban logistics. They've figured out how to use our infrastructure to their advantage.
They systematically use highway underpasses to get across busy roads. They see them as safe bridges. They use railway lines as protected travel corridors because there aren't many people walking along them. They've mapped the city's underbelly.
And just like the raccoons, they understand our schedules.
Intricately. Their entire hunting and moving strategy is shifted to twilight and the dead of night. They know precisely when the city empties out and their risk of being seen plummets. They've basically become a nocturnal species inside the city.
I think the most powerful story that illustrates this, the paradox of their boldness and their invisibility, is that Chicago highway den.
It is truly stunning. There was a well-documented coyote family that built their den in the narrow, grassy median strip of a major highway.
So between lanes of traffic.
Between lanes of high-speed traffic. And they successfully raised a whole litter of pups there while thousands and thousands of commuters drove past them every single day, completely oblivious.
The level of stress tolerance that requires is unimaginable. To filter out that constant noise, the vibration, the lights.
And to see that dangerous place as a refuge. They were bold enough to recognize that no human was ever going to walk out into the middle of the highway, so it was actually the safest place to be.
But they were stealthy enough to remain completely unseen.
Exactly. They've adapted their idea of a territory to fit into these weird, linear, fragmented spaces that we create. Their home ranges look nothing like they would in the wild.
So the coyote really shows us that even a large predator can colonize our most dense environments, but only if they can evolve the complex behavior to become essentially invisible to us. Okay, so most of what we've talked about so far has been behavioral. Learning, strategizing, scheduling.
Cognitive adaptations.
Right. But now we get into something even more profound. The physical changes. The rapid, documented evolution happening to the bodies of these animals.
And for that, London is one of the best case studies in the world, specifically with its urban foxes.
Foxes in London are incredibly common now, aren't they? They're basically neighbors.
Total neighbors. Trotting down the sidewalk in broad daylight, raising their cubs in people's gardens, denning under sheds.
And the really remarkable thing is how quickly they've changed physically. British researchers have documented measurable morphological differences in just a few generations. That's a blink of an eye in evolutionary time.
And what they found is that urban foxes have, on average, shorter snouts and smaller brains than their rural cousins.
Which sounds bad, but it's actually hugely significant. Why?
Because those traits, a shorter snout, changes in brain size related to fear response, are the exact same suite of changes that we see in the process of domestication.
So the city is essentially causing the fox to self-domesticate.
In real time. The environment is so powerfully selecting for tolerance of humans and for a reliance on our predictable garbage instead of risky hunting that it's physically changing them.
Can you explain the why behind that? Why does less fear lead to a shorter snout?
Okay, so in the wild, an animal needs a highly active adrenaline system. That flight-or-fight response is critical, and it's linked to things like skull structure and brain size.
But in the city?
In the city, the food source is a predictable, low-risk garbage bin. The adrenaline system just isn't being constantly taxed, so natural selection starts to favor foxes with a naturally lower fear response. They're calmer.
And that has a physical effect.
Over generations, yes. It leads to smaller adrenal glands, which in turn affects the growth of the skull and face, resulting in that shorter, more juvenile-looking snout. The city is literally rewarding calmer genetics.
And their diet is the engine driving all of this.
Absolutely. When they analyze the scat of urban foxes, it's overwhelmingly human food waste. Takeaway containers, stuff from bins, even food left out by people. It's all low-risk, high-calorie.
But they haven't completely lost their hunting skills.
Oh, no, they've just redirected them. They are still incredibly skilled at catching rats and mice in the city, which means they're actually acting as valuable pest controllers for us.
And just like the other animals, their whole biological clock has shifted to match ours.
Precisely. Wild foxes are strictly nocturnal, but urban foxes have become partially diurnal. They're active during the day. They know when restaurants throw out their trash or when the bins go out on the curb for collection. Their entire schedule is dictated by our business hours.
And we see those regional cultures with them too, right?
We do. Foxes in a wealthy neighborhood where the garbage is all locked up, they behave very differently from foxes in an area with easily accessible bins. They have to work harder, maybe rely more on natural prey, and they teach these specific survival strategies to their cubs.
All right, now we had to talk about the animal that really defines urban adaptation, the rat.
We're not just coexisting with rats, we are locked in a deep co-evolutionary partnership that goes back thousands of years. They are the ultimate urbanite.
The rat population is just a perfect example of complete dependency, isn't it?
It is. They have become so specialized for human environments that they literally cannot survive in a truly wild space anymore. Their entire genetic makeup, their behavior, it's all intricately tied to our civilization, to our trash and our sewers.
So what are some of those city-specific adaptations?
Well, they have much faster breeding cycles in cities because the food supply is constant. Their digestive systems have evolved to handle our bizarre food waste process, fats, sugars, chemicals that would be poison to their ancestors. They have a specialized urban metabolism.
And they've developed a trait called neophobia. That's a term we should define.
Neophobia is an intense, evolutionarily driven fear of new things, specifically new foods. And it's their key defense mechanism against our attempts to poison them.
This is why they're so hard to get rid of. They're biologically programmed to be suspicious of anything new in their environment.
And that suspicion is often social. It's not just one rat being cautious.
So it's a group effort.
The colony's social structure is its primary defense. Research has shown that if one rat, maybe a scout, eats a new food source and dies, The rest of the colony will avoid that food completely, sometimes for generations.
It's another example of cultural knowledge transfer, specifically about avoiding our threats.
And we tend to forget that their entire world exists right under our feet. They are the ultimate hidden navigators.
The sewer systems.
A labyrinth of tunnels that they navigate with terrifying precision. They have detailed, three-dimensional mental maps of entire sewer networks, understanding water flow, optimal routes. They're exploiting the warmth, the safety, and the constant flow of refuse that our own infrastructure provides.
They're an incredible success story. But the sources are quick to remind us that it's not always a benign success for us.
No. The rat really represents the dark side of this coevolution. They're vectors for disease. They cause huge damage to infrastructure by gnawing through pipes and wires. They're a constant reminder that our cities create these hyper-specialized niches for creatures that are now completely dependent on us, whether we like it or not.
So we've covered the generalists, the physical adapters, the survivors. Now let's look up to the top of the food chain, which has found a very surprising new home.
The high-rise canyon.
It seems completely counterintuitive, but our cities have been successfully colonized by apex predators. Peregrine falcons, red-tailed hawks, great horned owls.
And for these birds, a skyscraper is functionally and structurally the same as the ancestral cliff face or mountain they live on in the wild.
The story of the peregrine falcon is a huge conservation success, isn't it? Their recovery was helped enormously by the fact that they started moving into cities.
It was. And urban peregrines have huge advantages that their wild cousins just don't have.
The first one being food.
An abundant, year-round supply of prey. Pigeons, starlings. They don't migrate away from the city. That provides incredible food stability. They also get these perfectly protected nest sites high up on ledges, safe from ground predators like raccoons or coyotes.
And they've completely adapted their hunting style to what you call the urban geometry.
They have. They use the vertical buildings and the street canyons to funnel and ambush their prey in ways that would be impossible in the open sky. They even account for the weird wind patterns created by all the tall buildings.
And the speed they can achieve in this environment is just staggering.
Peregrines are already the fastest animals on Earth. But some urban peregrines have been clocked at over 200 miles per hour during their hunting dives through city canyons.
200 miles per hour.
They're executing these incredibly complex, high-speed maneuvers through one of the newest habitats on the planet. The fastest animal on Earth is thriving by exploiting the built environment.
And we see it with other raptors, too. Red-tailed hawks perched on traffic lights, totally unfazed by the chaos below, treating city parks as their personal hunting grounds.
And their presence has a ripple effect through the whole ecosystem. These predators help control the populations of pigeons and rodents. It shows that even a highly developed human landscape can support a full, functional food chain. A modified one, but a food chain nonetheless.
Okay, we've seen all these amazing individual stories. The raccoon, the crow, the falcon. But now let's step back and look at the big picture. We call the city an accelerated evolutionary laboratory. What does this speed of change really tell us?
It fundamentally changes the story of natural history. It tells us that evolution is not always this slow, gradual process that's confined to the deep past. It is happening right now, in decades, sometimes in just years.
And we have concrete, measurable examples of this. Tell us about the lizards in Puerto Rico.
Right, the Puerto Rican crested anoles. These are small lizards that, in just a few decades, have evolved physically for city life. City lizards have developed measurably longer legs and larger toe pads.
Why?
Specifically for climbing smooth, vertical surfaces.
Yeah.
Glass, painted walls, windows. Those surfaces replace the rough tree bark they were used to, so their bodies adapted. That's morphological evolution happening almost instantly.
We also see it at the genetic level with the mice in New York City.
Exactly. White-footed mice in Manhattan have, in just a few generations, developed distinct genetic differences from the mice in the surrounding countryside. And the changes are specifically related to metabolism and immune function.
Adapting them to the high stress, high pollution, weird diet city life. They're basically becoming their own subspecies.
A city-specialized subspecies, yes. And maybe the most widespread example of this rapid adaptation is acoustic. It's sound.
The birds are literally changing their song.
They have to. The low-frequency rumble of traffic noise drowns out their normal songs. It masks their ability to communicate, to find mates, to warn of danger. So many species have started singing at a significantly higher pitch or just much louder.
So they're evolving to sing in a different key to be heard over us.
And these changes are leading to new urban dialects in bird species all over the world. The next time you're near traffic and you hear a bird singing, you need to realize you're hearing a brand new evolved vocalization created specifically to cut through our noise.
So if you put it all together, the coyote, the raccoon, the fox, the pigeon, what is this city ultimately selecting for? What traits win?
The sources are very clear on this. Cities powerfully select for 4 key things: boldness, intelligence, dietary flexibility, and a very high tolerance for being near humans.
So it punishes specialists.
And it massively rewards generalists. It rewards learners, experimenters, animals that can adapt their behavior on the fly instead of relying on fixed instinct. The city is creating a new kind of animal, a highly specialized generalist defined by its incredible flexibility.
Now, as incredible as all these success stories are, we have to be realistic. The city is a brutal place, and survival there often comes at a very high and often hidden cost.
Right. Urban wildlife populations often live in what biologists call ecological traps.
What's an ecological trap?
It's an environment that looks really attractive. It seems to have a lot of food and shelter, but it also contains these hidden catastrophic mortality risks that the animals just don't see until it's too late.
And the sources list some devastating examples. The biggest one for birds is glass windows.
Millions and millions of birds are killed every year by window collisions because they see a reflection of the sky or trees and think it's a safe path.
And for mammals, it's cars.
Countless animals killed by vehicles, which is, in a grim way, its own form of selection pressure that weeds out the less cautious individuals. But maybe the most insidious risk is secondary poisoning.
Can you explain how that works? Because it directly impacts those apex predators we were just talking about.
So, someone puts out rat poison. The poison doesn't kill the rat instantly. It makes it slow, sluggish, and an easy target.
And then an owl or a hawk or a fox comes along
and eats the poisoned rat. The toxins then build up in the predator's body, and eventually it kills them. It's a huge problem that disrupts the entire urban food chain from the top down.
There's also the problem of, well, homogenization. If the city only rewards a certain type of animal, smart, adaptable omnivore, then a lot of other species just get pushed out.
It leads to this worrying global trend where cities all over the world start to have the exact same wildlife. A city in America, a city in Europe, a city in Asia, they'll all have their clever foxes, their tough rats, their fast falcons, and the unique local biodiversity gets lost.
And all this complexity, it raises some really difficult ethical questions for us.
The biggest one is usually about feeding. Should we feed urban wildlife? There's no easy answer.
Because on one hand, feeding them creates dependency. It can make them aggressive, and it can lead to situations where the animal has to be removed or even killed.
But on the other hand, just refusing to help an animal that looks like it's struggling in an environment that we created that feels really callous to a lot of people. It's a genuine dilemma.
It seems pretty clear that the old view of cities as these biodiversity dead zones is just, it's obsolete.
It is. The new way of thinking about them is as novel ecosystems. They have their own unique rules and their own unique evolving inhabitants. The wildlife is already here, and it's succeeding, whether we like it or not.
So the question isn't whether they belong. The question is, how do we learn to coexist? How do we shift our planning and our attitudes to actually accommodate them?
And we are seeing the beginnings of that. You look at projects like the Chicago Coyote Project or the London Fox Project.
What are they doing differently?
They're shifting the narrative. The Chicago Project uses research and public education to move people away from fear and towards seeing coyotes as a functional part of the ecosystem. The London Project helps rehabilitate injured foxes and mediate conflicts. They're treating the animals as legitimate residents that need to be managed, not just eliminated.
And we're seeing it in urban design, too. Wildlife corridors, green roofs.
Recognizing that animals need to be able to move safely between parks and green spaces. And this isn't just a nice thing to do. Urban wildlife provides real, tangible value.
What are some of those benefits?
Well, beyond the simple mental health benefit of seeing nature, there are economic ones. Owls and hawks that hunt rats save cities money on pest control. Bats eat huge numbers of insects. Foxes keep rodent populations in check. They are providing ecosystem services right in the middle of our concrete world.
And all the predictions suggest this is a trend that's only going to accelerate.
Yes. As climate change and habitat loss make wild areas less stable, our cities are increasingly going to become these strange kinds of refuges, offering stable food and shelter for adaptable species. Success really requires us to stop seeing them as pests and start seeing them as what they are: skilled, evolving, and legitimate urban residents.
So stand on that street corner at dusk one last time. But now, with this new knowledge, look closer. We are witnessing one of the great biological experiments of our time, and it's happening in fast forward.
That raccoon coming out of the storm drain isn't just looking for trash. It's an evolutionary pioneer. It's solving puzzles and teaching its children how to thrive.
The crows and the power lines aren't just making noise. They're maintaining a complex social and historical network.
And that pigeon getting on the subway, it's not lost. It knows exactly where it's going. It has incorporated our entire map into its own brain.
We built the buildings, but the animals are rewriting the rule book. They're using our city as a training ground to become smarter and more adaptable. These aren't just human spaces anymore. They're shared spaces.
And the creatures in them are evolving right alongside us. They're becoming something demonstrably new, something bolder, faster, and smarter than their ancestors ever were.
The secret lives of these animals are happening in plain sight. Every clever route, every evolved ability, every bird singing in a higher key, It's all part of this incredible accelerated story.
Which really raises a final important question for all of us. Given the proven intelligence and awareness of these animals, the face-recognizing crows, the schedule-planning raccoons, what new ethical responsibilities do we actually have toward them? We are the primary drivers of their evolution. Is our appreciation and our understanding keeping pace with their rapid cognitive growth?
That is definitely something to think about next time you're out in your city. The secret lives aren't secret if you know what you're looking for, and now you know exactly what to look for.